These websites are home to a vast number of user-created Minecraft servers. Whether they're played by thousands daily or haven't seen an active user base in years, they were all created with the purpose of providing an entertaining multiplayer Minecraft experience. Today, I'm going to be exploring a few of these servers, witnessing the remnants of life once present within them whilst enveloping myself in worlds potentially forgotten to time. Enjoy! Simply Survival is described as being just what it sounds like, a vanilla survival server. A server created on September 8th, 2018 and being run on update 1.14.4. However, unfortunately that's all I can really say about Simply Survival, as though server access isn't limited, an application is required to gain entry beyond the spawn area. Some signs of griefing is present, with lava and water falling just beyond the confines of spawn. So, though feeling somewhat frustrated that the first server that worked was still unplayable, perhaps an application process isn't such a bad idea, given the visual circumstances. Let's look at Owl Realms, which I believe to be a successor to a server named Alpha Realms. From my first impressions of joining Owl Realms, I was pleasantly surprised. The amount of detail and attention put into the lobby was far above what I expected from a server with 0 players. The spawn lobby itself felt very fresh, reminiscent of a survival build. It was a nice change from the complexities you may find in the likes of your top servers. It still consisted of your usual server tropes such as lobby selecting portals and parkour courses, but it didn't go for the top with things to do, which I think is both a good and a bad thing, depending on your perspective. Something I found interesting, the parkour course had an active leaderboard consisting of 2 previous players occupying first and second place. Before journeying to the other lobbies, I thought I'd take the time to appreciate the effort put into the parkour by completing it myself. I admit I did struggle more than I anticipated, but in the end I happily cemented myself alongside the other players on the leaderboard. Whether anyone will ever come back to rival or even acknowledge these times, who knows? But they exist. The survival lobby was next on my travels, greeting me with pagodas surrounded by a meadow of cherry blossom trees. Though being more complex in the lobby at spawn, it was still a welcome one, but perhaps that's just my bias for cherry blossom builds. In similar fashion to the spawn lobby, remnants of life weren't hard to find, with players placed on podiums commemorating achievements like killing the Ender Dragon. However, there was an aspect which struck me as somewhat uncanny, for lack of a better word. The global leaderboards commemorating player statistics for monthly mob kills and playtime, which, for the most part, remained empty, with the exception of one player, Barkara. But this isn't the aspect which I find uncanny. The leaderboard for purse balance of all time, showcasing the amount of coins earned by every player that has ever played, does. I can't fully put my finger on why, but perhaps the concept of these players never returning, their purse earnings stagnating, having reached an indefinite peak as time just moves on. It's just a concept which sits on my mind uneasily. In lighter topics, it's clear that a lot of effort went into the survival aspect of the server. Scattered around the survival lobby was a few blacksmithing areas where NPC villages of varying skill levels perched, awaiting to trade you armor and tools fit with rarity levels and custom perks for the price of unique, rare ingots. Personally, I thought these were very interesting aspects to change up the survival genre, whilst not getting too non-vanilla. This was further reflected with the main element of survival too, the wilderness. On my first visit, I stupidly got locked out of the open world for 6 minutes after I accidentally fell into the teleporter, which I just wasn't patient enough to sit around for. However, I returned a few hours later and I'm glad I did. What I anticipated being a standard vanilla Minecraft world was a lot deeper than that, I realised as I stood atop crimson leaf trees and unfamiliar scenery. I didn't have the time to explore these biomes in their entirety, so I can't speak for the expansiveness of these custom biomes, but what I did see left a good impression. The final aspect I wanted to explore from Owl Realms was the creative lobby, and with the ongoing trend, this lobby also featured a massively interesting design, featuring a sprawling and intricate hub which I described in my notes simply as Roman Colosseum-esque for its architectural designs, which I'll let speak for itself. The creative plots themselves were rather barren, featuring 2 builds of actual detail. The first being an intricate redstone contraption, and the other a small player house named simply Kaelin's Wi-Fi-less hut. In similar fashion to the parkour, I thought I'd contribute a little by attaining my own private plot, in which I classily built a completely unique house, paying homage to the history. And that concludes Owl Realms, a pleasantly surprising server which I believe has a lot of potential. My first impression upon joining DinoMine was an unremarkable one, with what appears to be the lingering effects of griefing invading the spawn area. I knew roughly what I was immersing myself into, and I was all for it. I spawned atop a netherite beacon in a crevice partially filled with water and lava alike. It was a drastic contrast to what I'd experienced on other servers, lacking the preservation, anti-griefing elements and overall server structure. But regardless, I did think it had some charm in its own way. Of course, DinoMine wasn't a server that I would actively visit to experience Minecraft in a new light, but it was a server nonetheless. It was a server that someone created on the sheer desire to make one. Whether it was a simple world created for a friend group to have some fun on, or whether the aim was more grandiose and ambitious, it was a server created with reason that's now most likely lost to time. And I think that's bittersweet in its own way. With the only other addition to the surrounding area being a small wooden house filled with survival necessities that couldn't even be used due to server permissions, I thought it best that I leave this server as is. Oh, and I fell into a deep hole with no pickaxe and no way out. So yeah. The VanillaMC server might be the most literally named server I explored in this list. Simply put, it's vanilla Minecraft. No custom resources or entities, no data packs, no additional requirements. Just simple vanilla Minecraft. Though I did spot traces of there being some other aspects running in the background, like unfamiliar commands in the /help menu, these didn't really alter the game in any way. Not that I noticed anyway. Though lacking the elements we've come to know as standard for a Minecraft server, it was still an oddly nice refresher, and I found myself bizarrely reminiscent as I sorted the usual survival tasks of getting wood and crafting. It reminded me of when I would attempt to create servers of my own for myself and some friends. So, was there anything remarkable about VanillaMC? Not necessarily. There were no signs of life anywhere in the near vicinity, so it's hard to say if this server was even used in the first place. Upon joining, however, I was greeted with a message stating that the server had been reset, so who knows? Perhaps there were remnants of life and memories made in this server, but I guess we'll never know. With my short time on VanillaMC, I increased the bee population, crafted a birch sign, and left a simple message announcing that at least somebody was active here. The TimGaming server was a very interesting server to take a dive into. It was always a positive surprise to find a thought-out spawn. A spawn that someone sat down and decided, this is what I want people to see first. My initial thoughts were that it was very on par for a standard Minecraft server. Just a room with some bits and bobs scattered around. And I will admit, the dark colour palette and general size of the room did give a subtle claustrophobic feeling. However, on closer inspection, there was a lot to unpackage. The first hint for me that this server was more than your run-of-the-mill was the custom structure in front of the portal. Created using custom commands to give a podium-esque look to it. These were called warps, and they were scattered around the overworld in areas of interest for the players to find and unlock. Taking a further look around the spawn, I was faced with commonality. Teleports for areas such as mines and the nether, alongside a corner dedicated to community storage, which was full to the brim with goods for new and old players alike. Additionally, a corridor named Boss Raid, however I'll discuss more on this a little later. Something which drew my attention further was the NPC standing beside the portal. After interacting, I would find that this NPC was a server historian, and though currently unimplemented, served to give a history of various eras and major updates of the server, from its creation in 2011 to its final map update in December 21st, 2022. which really puts it into perspective the amount of heart this server stemmed from, still alive and updating after 12 years. I jumped into the portal and was teleported to the Survival Wilderness spawn. Unlike other servers, this was a teleporter which takes you right into the action, survival. No massive room to navigate through before you gain freedom, just a few thematic empty buildings, pathways, and a warp to unlock. A welcome change. As I followed the path around, immediately I noticed a feature that I hadn't seen in a while. Active skills. As I run down the path, occasionally my endurance experience points would rise. Additionally, I gained forging experience points from breaking dirt blocks and trees, agility for falling from heights, and most likely a lot more that I just didn't discover or notice. I continued exploring the surrounding area, and it wasn't long before I found remnants of life. A short swim later, I arrived at a player base, fitted with a mass amount of torches, food and mob farms, a stairwell going down into a mine, and did I mention torches? Remnants of a potential player base being built were there, however incomplete. Back on the surface, some signs were placed, letting me know that this area was built by a player named Rockthose, and that its entirety was unclaimed and free for players to do with as they wish. A kind gesture, considering the chests were full of useful items and building blocks. Though buildings were visible in the distance, due to area claiming and the fact it was literally floating, I wasn't able to explore, so it'll remain floating there. A few mob fights later, I noticed another unique aspect: in-game currency. Upon killing certain mobs, I would gain currency named Timonians, which I did have a little laugh at for the naming convention, but it was an interesting feature. What you can do with this currency, I didn't get an answer to. Perhaps it functions with an in-game shop, tradable for goods, or perhaps it's a feature still to be fully implemented. Who knows? The feature of custom enchantments were present in this server too, I realised at the worst possible time whilst defending myself from a creeper. A pair of leather boots, fitted with Elemental Protection 1 and Bunny Hop 3, alongside a short description of their effects. A neat feature. I continued to explore the surrounding area, finding more signs of player activity but nothing drastic. Regardless, it was still a pleasant find to witness actual builds created by players who, at some stage, were enjoying simply surviving on this server. I made my way back to spawn and thought this would be the best opportunity to check out the boss raid corner, as I had clearly gained enough useful equipment to carry my own weight. What I expected to be a simple onslaught of mobs or the Wither was actually a lot more detailed than that, featuring custom note block music to set the tone, as well as uniquely designed enemies such as the Undead Knight, Corrupted Animated Golem, and the legendary Witherlord. Each of these bosses featuring custom attacks for the player to fend against, as well as strengths and weaknesses for the boss itself. It was a lot more interesting than I anticipated, and with another boss teased for release, it gives signs of more to come from TimGaming. But now I want to change the pace a little. I'm going to be stepping outside of Minecraft and taking a trip somewhere else. As I was exploring TimGaming, a chat message would occasionally appear, prompting me to check out their website, timgaming.com. At first I didn't pay much attention, not wanting to drift too far from the topic. However, I was curious, and I'm glad I was. The TimGaming Wiki, a Wikipedia-like page detailing various aspects of the server in more detail, such as advanced mechanics, coin drops, way shrines, custom crafting recipes, and more. But with all of these pages, something stood out to me a lot more. Photo albums is a section on the website described as showcasing some of our favourite moments from TimGaming, and a short scroll through this page really emphasises the feeling of community. From Cheese's Death Dive, a mini-game created by player Cheese in which the aim was to land safely on the ground, with the photo description stating, "We ended up getting yelled at for spamming chat with player death notices. Sorry," giving such a personal touch to it all. To a festival event run by player Pilot Kip, being a Wipeout-themed event filled with player-built mini-games, with the last photo described with, "Fireworks are always a great way to end the evening," being the cherry on top. There is so much history and sense of community to unpack for TimGaming, and this website alone gives a glimpse into not just the grandiose and unique player builds, but incredibly strong friendships and bonds between so many players. It's clear the sheer amount of love, dedication, and community that has been present throughout TimGaming's legacy. Taking the words straight from the Welcome to TimGaming section of the website, TimGaming is a Minecraft server that is focused on building a strong in-game community. Many lasting friendships have been forged here. What started as a simple, fun idea to explore old Minecraft servers with not much traction has led me down a rabbit hole of community, friendships, and memories. Whether a short one-off server designed for a select few, or an expansive experience designed to withstand time, I personally find a beauty in both, and feel that whenever my next 2-week Minecraft phase with friends comes around, that I'll appreciate the finer details and live in the moment that bit more. I'm Jack. Thanks for watching.